Inertia, Newton's first law of motion.
Start. 2, 1.
Force equals mass times acceleration is Newton's second law of motion. This can be proven in this example because the force needed to push the mass of the rocket is multiplied by the acceleration to get the force needed. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's third law of motion. The force exerted by the person towards the ground is affected by the law. A clip from the 2001 Cantonese film Shaolin Soccer. What was wrong with that clip, you ask? A lot. First of all, let's watch that again. Stop. You see that? The step that mighty steel leg Singh took, I say it would be apparent to running a quarter of the field from the center towards the opposition's goalkeeper. And taking that in that standard FIFA regulated field has a length of 120 meters, let's assume that running a quarter of a field would be 30 meters. Let's calculate the amount of newtons he would generate if he were to exert all his power within the ball. First of all, it took exactly 2.7 seconds for the player to walk the length, meaning that the speed would have been 11 meters per second. Following the equation of force equals mass times acceleration, it would mean that the force is 11 meters per second multiplied by the mass of Mr. Mighty Steel, which, if we were to follow the weight of the actual actor, Mr. Stephen Chow, would be 60 kilograms, meaning the total force exerted is 660 newtons. Now, to look at Mr. Mighty Steel's performance, his speed, for example, based on his extensive training shown in the movie and his superpower-like abilities, let's first calculate the power of Mr. Mighty Steel's kick. First, the time it took for the kick to reach the speed which analysts states compares to the speed of sound at 343 meters per second with an average regulated soccer ball mass of 0.45 kilograms or 450 grams. Divided by the time a goalkeeper's foot is at touch with the ball, it would mean that the total force exerted would be 3,087 newtons. As we can see, the total force of the player is 660 newtons, while the force needed by the acceleration of the ball is 3,087 newtons, clearly a violation of Newton's second law of motion. Even if we accept the logic-defying kick as reality, the second unfeasible part of Mr. Mighty Steel's performance was the backlash. Have you ever hit something like a tabletop with an open palm? You can feel the pressure that you exerted on the table back on your hand because of Newton's third law of motion. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If we were to observe the kick seconds after the ball leaves his foot, it seems to be still intact, with no observable repercussions. Meaning that the 3,087 newtons did not exert equal and opposite reaction. To put this in a scale, the amount of force needed to break a rib, for example, would be around 3,000 newtons. Meaning that if the third law of motion were to be followed, the force could realistically and very likely to break the bones of the shooter. Regarding the third law of motion, there's another part in the scene that's, for me, very unrealistic. Okay, watch it for yourself. I know. Wow, right? Just wow. It's amazing what this goalkeeper can do. But if you think of it, again, we think of 3,087 newtons as jaw breaking, even like neck breaking power. But for this person, somehow he is able to catch it with one hand. A supersonic ball with one hand. Realistic? I don't think so.